Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay did not chase a quarterback chased history. Tom Brady arrived at age 43 and immediately rewrote what late career meant. In just 3 seasons, he threw 108 touchdown passes, topped 14,000 passing yards, and turned a franchise known for chaos into champions. The Buccaneers had never repeated playoff wins before Brady, then suddenly made 3 straight postseason runs and won a Super Bowl. That ring alone doubled the franchise's championship total. He also finished second all-time in team touchdown passes, despite barely unpacking. It gets crazier because the roster was solid, not legendary, until Brady elevated preparation, confidence, and execution. Even today, debates rage over whether his Tampa run was more impressive than his early New England years. New York Giants. Eli Manning never looked intimidating, which made his damage even worse. While critics mocked his expressionless face, Eli quietly authored one of the most clutch playoff resumes ever. He won 2 Super Bowls, both against Tom Brady, including the legendary upset of the 18-win Patriots. During those postseason runs, Manning threw 15 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. He retired as the Giants' all-time leader in passing yards, touchdowns, and completions, and started 210 consecutive games, an Iron Man streak rarely discussed. It gets worse for doubters because Eli consistently elevated in January, posting a career postseason passer rating higher than his regular season mark. New York did not just get lucky twice. They had a quarterback built for chaos, pressure, and moments that still haunt New England fans. Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes did not inherit greatness, he detonated it. Before his arrival, Kansas City had 1 Super Bowl title across 50 years. In his first 6 seasons as a starter, Mahomes reached the AFC Championship every year, appeared in 4 Super Bowls, and won 3. He already owns 2 regular season MVP awards and 3 Super Bowl MVPs, something no quarterback accomplished this quickly. By age 29, he became the Chiefs' all-time leader in passing yards, which feels unreal. His sidearm throws, deep accuracy, and improvisation changed defensive rules across the league. It gets crazier because analysts still argue he has not peaked yet. Recent seasons sparked debate about whether Mahomes is already chasing Brady's legacy rather than merely following it. San Francisco 49ers. Joe Montana defined calm under pressure long before it became a buzzword. In 4 Super Bowl appearances, he went 4-0, threw 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and posted a passer rating over 127. That postseason perfection still stands untouched. During his San Francisco run, Montana won 2 league MVP awards and led multiple game-winning drives that became league folklore. The most famous came in Super Bowl 23, a 92-yard march executed with 0 panic. But that's not all. Montana thrived within structure, running Bill Walsh's system with timing and precision that rewired offensive football. When he left the team, he held franchise records for passing yards and touchdowns. Even today, younger quarterbacks are still measured against Montana. Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers made efficiency look unfair in Green Bay. Over his Packers career, he threw 480 touchdowns against just 105 interceptions, the lowest interception rate in league history. He won 4 MVP awards, including back-to-back seasons where defenses knew what was coming and still failed. Rodgers combined arm talent with patience, extending plays without forcing mistakes. Unlike Favre, whose fearless style came with turnovers, Rodgers punished teams surgically. He led Green Bay to a Super Bowl win and consistently ranked near the top in passer rating for more than a decade. It gets crazier when you realize his prime overlapped constant coaching changes and uneven rosters. Despite that instability, Rodgers retired as the franchise leader in passing yards and touchdowns. Pittsburgh Steelers. Terry Bradshaw arrived in Pittsburgh when losing felt permanent. Drafted first overall in 1970, he struggled early, but once it clicked, everything changed. From 1974 to 1979, Bradshaw led the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl titles and earned 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He became the engine of a dynasty built on defense, toughness, and timely deep throws. Bradshaw was never about pretty numbers, but he delivered in moments that mattered most. Pittsburgh trusted him to attack downfield when games tightened. By the time his career ended, the Steelers were a flagship franchise. Later quarterbacks passed his yardage totals, but none matched his championship impact. Bradshaw's legacy is rings, dominance, and turning a forgotten team into royalty in professional football history. Dallas Cowboys. Roger Staubach was the heartbeat of Dallas long before the brand exploded. A Navy veteran who lost prime years to service, Staubach still led the Cowboys to 4 Super Bowl appearances in just 8 seasons. He won 2 titles and earned the nickname Captain Comeback for his late-game heroics. Staubach combined pocket passing with elite scrambling, punishing defenses that underestimated his mobility. He retired as Dallas's career leader in passing yards and touchdowns, despite playing fewer seasons than modern quarterbacks. It gets worse for everyone else because his leadership shaped the Cowboys' identity forever. Teammates followed him without question, and opponents feared him with the game on the line. In Dallas, championships fade, but Staubach's standard never did during the franchise's most important years. Denver Broncos. John Elway spent years labeled a loser despite historic talent. He dragged average Broncos rosters to 3 Super Bowls in the late 1980s, only to lose each one. That narrative flipped late. At age 37, Elway finally won a title, then repeated the following season, retiring on top. He finished with over 51,000 passing yards and remains Denver's most complete quarterback ever. Elway could outrun defenders, launch deep strikes, and absorb punishment when needed. His competitiveness defined the franchise culture. It gets crazier when you realize Denver never becomes a destination without him, but first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel. So hit that subscribe button before we go any further, and keep enjoying these football breakdowns today. Miami Dolphins. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, and that fact still shocks people. Early in his career, he reached the big game, then never returned, despite rewriting the passing record book. Marino retired holding marks for career yards, touchdowns, completions, and single-season production. He threw 48 touchdowns in 1984, a number untouched for decades. His release was instant, his arm effortless, and defenses often looked helpless. It gets worse because Marino achieved all this in an era designed to limit passing. He engineered 33 fourth-quarter comebacks and made Miami relevant every year. Championships define legacies, but Marino redefined the quarterback position itself, influencing every aggressive passer who followed long before modern offenses inflated statistics across the league today everywhere. New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees arrived in New Orleans as a medical gamble and became a symbol of rebirth. After a devastating shoulder injury, many teams passed, but the Saints believed. Brees responded by completing nearly 69% of his passes, the highest mark in league history at retirement. He led New Orleans to 9 playoff appearances and delivered the franchise's first Super Bowl title in 2009. Brees shattered passing records, finishing with over 80,000 career yards. But that's not all. He stabilized a city reeling from Hurricane Katrina and gave it something to rally around. Accuracy, preparation, and resilience defined his game. No quarterback means more to a franchise than Brees does to New Orleans, based on impact, leadership, longevity, and statistical dominance. Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson shocked the league by winning Seattle's starting job as a rookie and immediately raising the franchise ceiling. In his first 2 seasons, the Seahawks reached consecutive Super Bowls and demolished Denver in Super Bowl 48. Wilson threw for over 37,000 yards with Seattle and accounted for more than 300 total touchdowns. His deep ball accuracy and scrambling made defenses hesitate every snap. Seattle made the playoffs 8 times in his 10 seasons as starter, an unheard of run for the franchise before him. It gets crazier because Wilson did this while playing behind inconsistent offensive lines. He set every major Seahawks passing record and became the most successful quarterback in team history. Even after his departure, Seattle is still chasing the standard he established. Los Angeles Rams. Kurt Warner's story sounds fake until you check the numbers. Undrafted, stocking grocery shelves, then suddenly quarterbacking the greatest show on turf. From 1999 to 2001, Warner won 2 MVP awards and led the Rams to 2 Super Bowls. During that stretch, St. Louis averaged over 30 points per game, an absurd number at the time. Warner threw for over 4,000 yards 3 times and delivered the franchise its first championship. His deep strikes to Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt stretched defenses beyond recognition. It gets worse for opponents because Warner thrived in pressure moments, including a Super Bowl winning drive sealed by a bomb to Bruce. No Rams quarterback ever peaked higher or faster than Warner did. Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson broke the quarterback rulebook in Baltimore. Drafted last in the first round, critics questioned his position before his first snap. In 2019, Jackson silenced everything by winning MVP unanimously. He threw 36 touchdown passes while rushing for over 1,200 yards, a quarterback record. Baltimore went 14-2 that season, redefining offensive efficiency. Lamar added a second MVP later, something few quarterbacks ever accomplish. His speed forces defensive coordinators into impossible choices every week. It gets crazier because Baltimore consistently wins despite constant roster turnover. Jackson led the Ravens to multiple playoff appearances and turned a defense-first franchise into an offensive nightmare. No Ravens quarterback has ever tilted the field the way Lamar does when healthy. Buffalo Bills. Jim Kelly built Buffalo's greatest era without ever lifting the trophy. From 1990 to 1993, Kelly led the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowl appearances, a feat no other quarterback matched. While they went 0 for 4, Kelly's impact remains massive. He ran the K-gun offense, attacking defenses with speed and precision. Kelly retired as Buffalo's leader in passing yards and touchdowns in just 11 seasons. It gets worse when you realize Buffalo still has not returned to the Super Bowl since. Kelly delivered consistency, relevance, and dominance in the AFC during a brutal era. Even today, Bills quarterbacks are judged by how close they come to Kelly's control of the offense and leadership under relentless postseason pressure. Minnesota Vikings. Fran Tarkenton played quarterback like no one had seen before. Long before designed rollouts, Tarkenton scrambled constantly, buying time and breaking structure. He retired as the NFL's all-time leader in passing yards and touchdowns, an incredible feat for his era. Tarkenton led the Vikings to 3 Super Bowls and multiple deep playoff runs. While Minnesota never won the title, they were perennial contenders with him under center. His ability to extend plays stressed defenses built for static pocket passers. It gets crazier because many modern quarterback traits trace back to Tarkenton's style. Decades later, he still holds several Vikings passing records. No Minnesota quarterback has matched his longevity, innovation, or influence on how the position is played across generations. Philadelphia Eagles. Donovan McNabb arrived in Philadelphia to booze and left as a cornerstone. Drafted 2nd overall, fans wanted Ricky Williams instead. McNabb responded by leading the Eagles to 8 playoff appearances and 5 NFC Championship games. He guided Philadelphia to its first Super Bowl of the modern era and played through severe illness in that game. McNabb retired as the franchise leader in passing yards and touchdowns. His mobility kept plays alive, while his arm stretched defenses vertically. It gets worse because McNabb carried rosters that often lacked elite skill talent. For more than a decade, the Eagles measured success by postseason consistency, and McNabb delivered it. His number remained synonymous with stability during one of Philadelphia's most competitive stretches ever. Indianapolis Colts. Peyton Manning turned Indianapolis into an offensive laboratory. Over 13 seasons, he won 4 MVP awards with the Colts and shattered passing records. In 2004, Manning threw 49 touchdowns, redefining quarterback efficiency. He led Indianapolis to a Super Bowl title in 2006, erasing years of playoff frustration. Manning engineered 45 game-winning drives for the franchise, constantly punishing defensive mistakes. His pre-snap adjustments became legendary, forcing rule changes across the league. It gets crazier because the Colts collapsed immediately after his injury absence. Manning retired as the team's leader in every major passing category. No quarterback controlled games mentally and statistically the way Peyton did in Indianapolis for over a decade straight. New York Jets. Joe Namath remains larger than numbers in New York. He guaranteed a Super Bowl victory and delivered the greatest upset in league history. Namath became the first quarterback to throw for 4,000 yards in a season, doing so in an era stacked against passers. Injuries wrecked his knees, yet he played through pain for years. The Jets had only 3 winning seasons during his career, but his cultural impact never faded. It gets worse when you realize no Jets quarterback has matched his star power since. Broadway Joe turned the franchise into a national brand and gave it its only championship. For the Jets, history still begins and ends with Namath's confidence and belief. Chicago Bears. Sid Luckman remains Chicago's forgotten superstar. Playing in the 1940s, Luckman led the Bears to 4 championships and orchestrated a 73-0 title game blowout. He threw touchdowns when passing was considered reckless and outdated. Luckman also played defense, intercepted passes, and punted. Embodying early football versatility, his franchise passing touchdown record stood for 72 years. It gets crazier because no Bears quarterback since has dominated the league the way Luckman did relative to his era. Chicago's modern quarterback struggles only amplify his legacy. Luckman was not just good for his time, he was revolutionary. Setting standards the Bears still have not consistently matched across generations of offensive experimentation. Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton hit the league like a freight train. In 2011, he rewrote rookie quarterback records for passing and rushing. In 2015, Newton won MVP after leading Carolina to a 15-1 record. He accounted for 45 total touchdowns that season and powered the Panthers to their first Super Bowl since the Jake Delhomme era. Newton's size, speed, and arm strength forced defenses into mismatches every week. It gets worse because he retired as the franchise leader in passing touchdowns and rushing scores. No quarterback defined Carolina's identity more clearly. When Cam was healthy, the Panthers were not just competitive, they were terrifying for defenses across the entire league. Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan became Atlanta's stabilizer during chaos and turnover. Over 14 seasons, he threw more than 59,000 yards and 360 touchdowns, both franchise records by massive margins. In 2016, Ryan reached his peak, winning league MVP after throwing 38 touchdowns with just 7 interceptions. Atlanta's offense was nearly unstoppable that season, marching to the Super Bowl. It gets crazier because Ryan played nearly his entire career without elite defenses supporting him. He engineered 46 game-winning drives and countless late rallies. The infamous Super Bowl collapse still clouds perception, but Ryan delivered consistency the franchise never had before. No Falcons quarterback combined longevity, production, and weekly reliability like Matt Ryan did during his long tenure. Los Angeles Chargers. Phillip Rivers defined durability and volume for the Chargers. After taking over as starter in 2006, he never missed a start, beginning 224 consecutive games. Rivers threw over 59,000 yards and 397 touchdowns for the franchise, surpassing every previous mark. His fiery personality and quick release powered multiple playoff runs. It gets worse when you realize Rivers often carried shaky offensive lines and inconsistent defenses. Despite never reaching a Super Bowl, his weekly production kept the Chargers relevant for more than a decade. Rivers consistently ranked near the top in passing yards and touchdowns during his prime. No Chargers quarterback matched his availability, toughness, and sustained statistical dominance across so many seasons. Detroit Lions. Matthew Stafford spent 12 seasons proving talent can exist without success. In Detroit, Stafford threw over 45,000 yards and 280 touchdowns, both franchise records. He engineered 38 fourth-quarter comebacks, many coming in chaotic fashion. Stafford's arm strength allowed throws few quarterbacks would even attempt. It gets crazier because Detroit reached the playoffs only 3 times during his tenure. Despite limited team success, Stafford consistently delivered high-level production. His fearless approach defined Lions football for a generation. When he left, Detroit lost its offensive identity overnight. Stafford was not the most accomplished Lion quarterback, but he was the most talented passer the franchise ever had, capable of carrying broken rosters on pure ability alone. Las Vegas Raiders. Ken Stabler brought calm to chaos in Oakland. Nicknamed the Snake, he excelled in late-game moments, guiding the Raiders with precision and confidence. Stabler won league MVP in 1974 and led the franchise to its first Super Bowl title in 1976. He finished with a remarkable 69-26 and one record as a starter. It gets worse for opponents because Stabler thrived under pressure, especially on third downs. Before modern offensive explosions, he was among the league's most efficient passers. Stabler retired as the Raiders' all-time leader in passing yards and touchdowns. No quarterback embodied the Raiders' identity of toughness and clutch execution more completely than Ken Stabler did. Cincinnati Bengals. Ken Anderson quietly delivered Cincinnati's greatest quarterback era. From 1971 through 1986, Anderson became one of the league's most accurate passers. He won league MVP in 1981 after leading the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Anderson set a then record for completion percentage and consistently ranked among the league leaders. It gets crazier because his style fit perfectly into an offense ahead of its time. Anderson retired as the Bengals' leader in passing yards and touchdowns. While later quarterbacks had flashes, Anderson delivered sustained excellence. He gave Cincinnati credibility and postseason relevance long before modern success arrived. No Bengals quarterback blended efficiency, leadership, and longevity the way Anderson did over more than a decade. Cleveland Browns. Otto Graham remains untouchable in Cleveland history. In 10 seasons, Graham led his team to 10 championship games and won 7 titles. That level of dominance has never been repeated. Graham led the league in passing yards 5 times and yards per attempt 4 times. It gets worse when you realize postseason access was limited, yet he still reached the title game every year. After Cleveland joined the NFL, Graham continued winning championships. His teams finished first in the division every season he played. No Browns quarterback came close to his consistency or success. Graham's era set expectations the franchise has spent decades chasing, making him the clear standard bearer for Cleveland football excellence. Jacksonville Jaguars. Mark Brunell built Jacksonville from nothing. Joining the expansion franchise in 1995, Brunell became the starter early and never looked back. From 1996 to 1999, he led the Jaguars to 4 straight playoff appearances and 2 AFC Championship games. Brunell threw 144 touchdowns for the franchise, a record that stood for decades. His mobility and left-handed delivery stressed defenses. It gets crazier because Jacksonville reached relevance faster than most expansion teams ever have. Brunell set the foundation every Jaguars quarterback is compared against. While newer stars generate excitement, Brunell remains the benchmark for sustained success and leadership in the franchise's formative years. Arizona Cardinals. Jim Hart delivered offense to a franchise starving for identity. Playing 18 seasons with the Cardinals, Hart became the engine of Don Coryell's innovative passing attack. From 1973 through 1977, Arizona ranked among the league's top offenses. Hart threw over 34,000 yards and 209 touchdowns, setting franchise records that lasted decades. It gets worse because he accomplished this without consistent playoff success or star protection. Hart's ability to stretch the field redefined expectations for Cardinals quarterbacks. He retired owning every major passing record for the team. No Arizona quarterback sustained offensive production longer or more reliably during a time when passing was far less protected. Houston Texans. Matt Schaub gave Houston its first taste of stability. After early struggles with David Carr, Schaub transformed the offense into a functional passing attack. In 2009, he led the league in passing yards. From 2011 to 2013, Schaub guided Houston to 3 playoff appearances and 2 postseason wins. It gets crazier because the franchise had never won a playoff game before him. Schaub retired as the Texans' leader in passing yards and touchdowns. His tenure ended abruptly, but his impact remains foundational. Until newer quarterbacks surpass his marks, Schaub stands as the standard bearer for Houston's early competitive years under center. Tennessee Titans. Warren Moon arrived late but left a massive footprint. After dominating the Canadian League, Moon joined Houston at age 28 and rewrote expectations. Over 10 seasons, he threw nearly 34,000 yards and 233 touchdowns for the franchise. Moon made 6 Pro Bowls and led the Oilers to multiple playoff appearances. It gets worse because he accomplished this during an era hostile to pass-heavy offenses. Moon's pocket presence and deep accuracy changed perceptions of quarterback play. No Titans or Oilers quarterback matched his production or longevity. His influence extended beyond statistics, opening doors for future generations while defining the franchise's greatest passing era. Washington Commanders. Joe Theismann's career unfolded later than most. He did not become Washington's starter until age 29, but once established, he thrived. In 1983, Theismann won league MVP and led Washington to a Super Bowl title. He engineered a powerful offense under Joe Gibbs and delivered consistent postseason success. It gets crazier because his career ended suddenly in a brutal injury. Despite that, Theismann retired as the franchise leader in passing yards and completions. His impact remains historic. Washington's modern quarterback instability only highlights his importance. Theismann provided leadership, production, and championships during one of the franchise's most dominant eras. New England Patriots. Tom Brady's New England run still feels impossible. Over 20 seasons, he won 6 Super Bowls, 3 MVP awards, and appeared in 9 championships with the Patriots. He threw over 74,000 yards and 541 touchdowns for the franchise. Brady engineered countless late comebacks, turning deficits into inevitabilities. It gets worse because he did this across multiple eras, rosters, and systems. New England became the league's measuring stick. No quarterback combined longevity, adaptability, and winning like Brady. He did not just dominate, he sustained dominance longer than anyone in football history. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.